Hi there. Hello. I'm Jess. Thank you for listening. I'm gonna share some personal things that I don't normally say out loud. About mental health issues. Mental health issues are being talked about a little bit more these days, which is a good thing. I think it's something that a lot of people will experience either in their personal life or with a family member or a friend. I personally have been affected by mental health issues my entire life, beginning with my parents and then with myself. So, I was originally told by my very first counselor at 18 years old that I had PTSD, which I didn't understand at the time. I thought I was silly. I hadn't been to war. I hadn't been beaten. I hadn't been inappropriately touched. How could I have PTSD? I thought he was crazy. And I blew it off, and I went about my life. I spent 15 years with my ex. Got divorced in 2012. So I've been mostly single for 8 years. Over the past few years, I've really had to accept this PTSD thing and figure out what it was all about. It took me 20 years to accept and address and understand how this is something that has affected every aspect of my life all this time in so many ways. It is a really hard thing to come to grips with, accepting. When I was younger, I used to constantly wonder why I was different. I was different. I am different. My brain doesn't function the same as most people. And learning about the reasons for that, the causes for that, and the fact that I'm not the only one, it's been incredibly healing. So that's why I want to share what I'm going through. Because if there's someone out there who can relate, I want them to know that it's not your fault and you're not alone. So, here's what I've learned. Our brains run on a program that was laid before the age of 7 years old. It's not up to us. We don't get a choice. When we're young, we are impressionable, to say the least. We are in program mode, basically, where every little thing that happens becomes a part of our brain, especially trauma. Now, there's a lot of factors involved in this process, and of course, not everyone who has childhood trauma develops PTSD. Most people experience some level of traumatic events in their childhood. The key is in the healing. Most people have a place to go to heal, a person that shows them unconditional love and that tells them that it's not their fault. Without that opportunity for healing, without the reassurance of a loving outside person, the brain doesn't get a chance to heal, and the trauma becomes a part of the program. So based on that assessment, I've spent the majority of my life making every decision based on survival. How can I protect myself at every turn, every conversation? Denying my own feelings to prevent the possibility of being attacked. Codependency. Codependency is a byproduct or symptom of PTSD. And what I'm talking about is specifically called CPTSD, complex or childhood PTSD. It's very different from the original definition of PTSD, which is typically based on a single event or a limited time frame when the traumatic events occurred, whereas CPTSD is complex because of two things. Typically it happened before the age of 7 years old, while the brain was still being programmed. And two, it happened over extensive periods of time. Learning all of this and accepting that my life has been what it is as a direct result of the program that was laid into my brain when I was a child, and that it isn't my fault, has been extremely liberating for me. I know that I still have to take responsibility for the decisions that I've made, and I haven't made all the greatest decisions. I've made some pretty awful decisions. But it is so much easier to forgive myself and try to move forward, knowing that there's a reason. It's not just because I'm faulty or defective or not good enough or unworthy. Because while I struggle on some level to accept those things about myself, I do know on a logical level that the truth is I was always worthy, good enough. And so are you. You are worthy. You are loved. You are healing. You are bringing light into the world. You are good. Codependency for me has been like an addiction to outside validation. Chasing the dragon, the beast of being told that I'm okay by somebody else. The pat on the back, the atta girl. I used to live for that. I would wake up on a Saturday or Sunday morning with nothing planned to do, and this impending anxiety attack that I could not remedy alone, and I would just start reaching out frantically, texting anyone I could think of that might validate me, and feeling lost and completely empty until someone would reply. But that chase was just so painful and repetitive. It wasn't until I could see it, until I took a step back and really tried to understand where that feeling of desperation and emptiness was coming from. And the fact that no one can really satisfy that but me. Only I can provide that validation. Anything else is fleeting. So, I've spent the last year working on validating myself, working on being comfortable alone, comfortable in my own skin, comfortable without